Magandang umaga. Ako po si Trixie Cruz-Angeles. Please check if our audio is okay and we'll begin. Uh, mag, uh, Hi, good evening kay Von Pasco, John Brian Monterola, Altax the Great, uh, for being the early birds here. Alam ko medyo late na. This is the first time we're doing this really rather late, but I had a very full week. Today, I had to lecture to a law enforcement agency on the anti-terrorism law. So the nice thing about the anti-terrorism law is dahil nga wala siyang, how do you call this, wala siyang temporary restraining order, therefore our law enforcement agencies can just proceed, tuloy-tuloy lang po yung pag-enforce ng Anti-Terrorism Act. So ang ibig sabihin nito, and even as we speak, ina-apply na po ito. So magandang okay, the audio is great. Maraming salamat sa inyong lahat. So good evening sa mga nakatambay dito sa Facebook natin. Joe O'Hara, Lorenzo Rojas, Edward Katsi, Mer Roberts, Apollo Ebdalin, Net Cornelio Villanueva, Checks and Lines, who's on YouTube, and Balasa Sapio, Noemi Aspe, and Rizalino Sobrepeña. Hi, magandang gabi. Well, as we know, in the early part of the week, nakita natin na gumagalaw na po. Naging exciting na po ang ating politika. It started off sort of with the bang kasi biglang nag-fire off ng memorandum si Senator Pacquiao as supposedly the president of PDP-Laban, asserting his legality or legitimacy as the president. He expelled 3 people, not limited to Secretary Cusi and of course Attorney Melvin Matibag. Also, he expelled one more person, a woman. I forgot the name. I apologize for that. But 3 people immediately were expelled supposedly, and this was the interesting part. Ito yung nakakatuwa. Ang reason kung bakit sa pag-expel ni Secretary Cusi was because of his alleged support for Sara Duterte. Ang sabi, indirect support for Sara Duterte daw ang pagsuporta sa Vice Presidency ni President Rodrigo Duterte in the 2022 elections. I'd like you to take a second to think about that. Ine-expel po si Secretary Cusi supposedly for his indirect endorsement or indirect support for Sara Duterte, who is not a member of PDP-Laban. Pero kaya daw nila sinusuportahan si President Duterte in his bid to be Vice President in 2022 ay dahil daw ito ay pagsuporta doon sa Duterte tandem, or even if President Duterte doesn't actually run for Vice President, it is an indirect support of Sara Duterte. So in other words, Senator Manny Pacquiao has already fired a shot at the Sara camp, even if the Sara camp has not yet declared presidency, which actually kind of, sort of, but didn't actually really happen. Towards the end of the week, biglang in-announce ni Madam Sara that, well, she's open to the possibility of running for president. She just said, yeah, oo. So, which is really quite interesting, di ba? After months and months of being mom and still leading in the surveys, possible candidate Mayor Sara Duterte now is semi-officially in the running. Right? Magandang development ito. But let's see what goes on. Remember, there are other moving parts. We see Isko Moreno, who is ranking very well in the surveys for senator. Senator Manny Pacquiao, of course, supposedly is number 1. Consistent. He's one of the most, he's still really rather popular. Plus, he's going to be, he is on his way. Well, he's training now for a next fight. If he wins dito sa susunod na laban niya, then this is a resurgence in his popularity. But the question right now is his popularity going to translate into votes? Tantayin natin yan. It's almost like a sports game, this politics dito sa Pilipinas, no? Napaka-exciting. But in the meantime, tinatanong ni Ali Monsi kung sino ang bet ko for president. I really want to see who all the candidates are going to be bago tayo magsalita, which brings us to another Polish behavior. So today we also went, sabi daw ng ibang vloggers, sabi ni Richelle Panuelos, bakit sabi ng ibang vloggers, di daw possible ang Duterte tandem? Well, I want to see what their legal basis is for saying not possible. Kasi possible. There's nothing in the law that says that magkamag-anak hindi pwedeng tumakbo ng sabay. Meron nga tayong anti-dynasty provision sa ating saligang batas pero hindi ginawa ng batas ng ating Kongreso. So there is nothing to implement yet. So wala pong nagsasabi sa ating batas na nagsasabi na hindi pwede ang Duterte-Duterte tandem. Posible na sinasabi nila for the political implications. It's not, well, baka hindi tanggapin, masyadong, all in the family and all of that. Ang tingin ko dyan, it's really early to tell who the final candidates are going to be. It's probably going to happen by then in October, so we're going to know in October kung sino-sino talaga maglalaban dyan sa arena na yan. In fact, we're not even sure about the fate of either Senator Pacquiao or if it's the president who's going to pull out of PDP-Laban. Let's see, di ba? Di pa tayo sure. Certainly, Senator Pacquiao wants to remain in PDP-Laban. He might have a difficult time securing the candidacy from another party, particularly since humahataw na rin yung ibang mga partido at marami sa kanila nagde-declare na ng suporta kay Mayora Sara. Okay. Where does this leave BBM? The nice thing about BBM is he's super tahimik, so we don't even know what he's planning yet. As far as we can tell from the BBM camp, he has only confirmed that he's going to run pero hindi niya sinasabi kung ano yung posisyon. Malamang binabasa pa din nila yung sitwasyon, tinitignan nila, but a lot of us are still hoping for a Sara BBM or BBM Sara combination, and I think that is the team to beat up to now. In spite of the fact na nakikita natin umaariba po yung mga kampo ni, of course, Senator Pacquiao and Mayor Isko Moreno. Let's not count them out. Of course, tumatakbo din si Senator Ping Lacson and with his running mate, Senator Tito Soto. Tingnan natin. The less candidates, the more exciting actually. Pero pag dumami yung mga kandidato, tingnan natin. The whipping boy, at least for most people, ang tingin nilang mangyayari dito is that Senator Trillanes, possibly with a tandem, in tandem with Vice President Leni Robredo. We don't know what the combination is going to look like yet, pero Senator Antonia Trillanes, or former Senator Antonia Trillanes, is hell-bent on running for either the vice presidency or the presidency. So, ganda. No, I can't stop yung sound na may pumupukpok is my daughter making apple pies. Thank you kay Ruthie Sidor. And sino pa ba yung isa? And Zeph Cabron. Magandang gabi po sa inyong lahat. Dito sa ating super chat and super stickers. Maraming salamat po sa inyo. Para dun sa mga nakikinig sa atin, both Facebook and YouTube, magandang gabi po sa inyong lahat. Huwag po kakalimutan mag-like, share, follow, and subscribe. Subscribe po tayo sa YouTube. Mas madali po. Actually, mas predictable yung signals kasi pagkadating dito sa YouTube. Let me see, more comments. Margarita says, it's nice to catch up. Samboy Locop says, Secretary Guevara has already given his opinion about allowing Digong to run as VP considering the law. That's interesting for you to comment without actually telling us what the secretary said, di ba? Sa susunod, kumpletuhin niyo naman para makapag-komento din tayo. Sabi ni Alpax the Great, Lacson Soto is so boring. Okay, good evening, sabi ni Ma'am Rosemary Tugonon. Ito, tinatanong ni Ruby, how about si BBM? The nice thing, like I said, and I'll have to reiterate this one, ito si BBM, tahimik na tahimik, which actually is a very good strategy. Diba? We don't know what he's running for. We only know that he's actually running kasi kinonfirm na niya yan months ago. The nice thing about being very, very quiet is konti lang ang maaaring ibira sa kanya because nobody knows what he's running for. But in the meantime, he's working on his grassroots. I understand na he is reestablishing his ties mostly with people on the ground. Yung mga hindi natin siya makikita on social media as much as we would like to or even sa media. But that's expected. Hindi naman parating kakampi natin ng traditional media. But Senator BBM is putting things into place regardless of what position he runs. And I'm pretty sure it's going to be for a national position. The least that he's going to run is for senator. So talagang kailangan niyang mag-reestablish ng ties to the grassroots. Right now, he's possibly the sweetest smelling candidate kasi walang bumibira sa kanya. And plus, he's also, his projection right now is like the nicest guy in town. Wala siyang kaaway, di ba? So, let's see. I'm hoping that still for that BBM and BBM Sara or Sara BBM tandem. Sabi ni Victor Esteban, kung walang Duterte, hindi ako uuwi para bumoto. It's nice, nice. Pero talaga nasa palad ni PRRD lahat, sabi ni Ma'am Shera, exciting ang laban sa 2022. Well, it's exciting only if lamang yung kandidato na. Ako kasi heart attack city parate. Alam naman natin lahat that we prefer, again, reiterate, the forerunning possible combination here is Sara BBM or BBM Sara. So let's see what's going to happen to that one. Keep your fingers crossed. Ito, sabi ni Ma'am Sambuanga Hermosa Files, bubulagain na lang tayo ni BBM na VP bet na siya with Sara for president. I hope so. Ma'am Ruth Isidore, thank you very much po dun sa padala ninyo. Michael Kimson, thank you very much. Is the removal of the officer of the PDP-Laban, is it legit even without the approval of the party chairman? Well, we will see kasi magkakaroon ng assembly on the 17th at doon natin makikita kung ano na ang pangyayari. Diba? Of course, kino-contest. Hindi nga, dineded mga ni Atty. Melvin Matibag at saka ni Secretary Cusi yung moves or the moves nitong si Senator Pacquiao. They're saying, deadma, wala yan, walang effect yan. Because right now, hindi nga nila kinikilala yung legitimacy or yung permanence ng position ni Senator Pacquiao as President of the PDP-Laban. May National Assembly po at doon po magkakaalaman, assuming that even if Senator Pacquiao is holding the position legitimately, titignan po natin if he's still going to be holding it after the 17th. According to Senator Pacquiao, he had been doing his grassroots work as well. 10,000 daw ang sumusuporta sa kanya and he had gotten signatures of those 10,000 members of the PDP-Laban. Tignan natin. Pinibining Lola says, ano interpretation mo sa Constitution na hindi pwedeng tumakbo si VP, si PRRD? According to Monsod, matagal ko na pong sinabi na wala pong nakalagay dito sa ating saligang batas na hindi pwede tumakbo ang dating presidente bilang vice-presidente. Ang pinagbabawal lang po na maliwanag dito sa ating saligang batas ay bawal tumakbo ang presidente for re-election. So, as we saw, Gloria Arroyo, after becoming president, ran for Congress in Pampanga ba? And she won. Nobody ever contested that, di ba? Ang sinasabi nila is it puts the former president as vice president in the line of succession for the president, but again, there's nothing that the Constitution says na directly pinagbabawal yon. Indirectly lang sinasabi na hindi pwedeng tumakbo for re-election ng presidente, supposedly para hindi siya magkadalawang sunod na terms. It's not going to be that way. There's not going to be 2 consecutive terms kasi kung tumakbo siya ng vice president, kailangan may manalo muna na presidente. Di ba? Okay. If God permits and in order, BBM Digong Duterte, Sara Duterte BBM, Amy Marcos Digong Duterte, Sara Duterte Amy Marcos. Totoo lang, ang daming tumatalinong Pinoy. Salamat sa lahat ng honest information and opinion from Karambola and Tambayan and lahat ng segments ng DWIC. Maraming salamat din po. Sabi ni Ledesma Philbert, did you hear about the alleged crash of one of our Embraer Super Tucano, which was alleged by one of the defense blockers that the PAF was hiding? Let me find out about that. Titignan natin kung merong mahirap yatang itago pag kami nagka-crash na gano'n, especially if there's a casualty. So, magtatanong po tayo, wala po akong impormasyon doon. Sabi ni Ma'am Priscilla, Sir JP suggests ang hukpong ni Mayor Sara na lang ang palakasin nila PRRD. Well, that's actually an excellent strategy. But how do you know that this isn't happening already right now? Dahil nagkakagulo ang PDP-Laban, how strong do you think they're going to be? And if the president at the last minute decides either to pull out of the PDP-Laban, then that already makes the hukbong very, very strong. What the hukbong needs to do is to transform itself from a regional party into a national party para to be capable of carrying Inday by herself. Hindi siya magre-rely dun sa ibang mga established parties for the registration as a candidate in the COMELEC later on. So tignan natin. Besides, I would like to see hukbong as a national party. May tanong dito, tax evasion. Is the tax evasion case filed against Pacman, will it still be pursued? It is being pursued. I understand the case is pending before the Court of Tax Appeals. From a strictly legal point of view, sabi ni Samboy, hindi pinagbabawalan ng Constitution ang isang incumbent elected president na tumakbo bilang vice-presidente sa susunod na eleksyon. Yun man pala, pareho kami ng opinion . Ay, maraming salamat kay Ma'am Marites Lucas. Nagpadala siya ng pang-apple pie. Maraming salamat. Sana yung apple pie manggaling sa Mermaid Bakes. Ay, ako pala mag-decide. Sige po. Yung sasawitan says, may magagawa ba ang ating legislators na mapalitan ng Smartmatic at taga-COMELEC itself? Lahat sila palitan. Hindi po kasi the COMELEC is an independent constitutional body and it's beyond the reach of the legislature. Pwede silang magdagdag ng duties pero hindi nila pwedeng palitan yung mga nakaupo because they are impeachable officials. Romeo David says, watching live from Carson, California. Sabi ni Yvonne, I love the president, but I would like him to just rest and enjoy his retirement. He has done so much for the country. Well, how do you know he isn't going to do that? Like I said, smoke and mirrors pa tayo ngayon. Daming gumagalaw. Hindi natin sinasabi that the president is actually going to run for vice president, but what we're saying is that he is allowed to. Diba? Sabi ni Ophir, pasok ba sa graft and corruption yung abandonadong 3.5 billion gym ni Pacquiao, attorney? Well, if it used government funds, yes, it would be. But let's see, what is the reason kung bakit hindi yan tinuloy? Hindi pa natin nakikita. On the face of it, there's a project, tapos merong gym, hindi natapos yung gym and it has been abandoned. Then in theory, yes, kasi may wastage of government resources yan. However, let's see, baka naman dinisallow or there's something legally wrong or it's tied up in a lawsuit in court, then there's a reason for it to be, look abandoned. It might not actually be abandoned. Sabi ni Owen Ramirez, pwede ba kasuhan si Senator Manny Pacquiao sa sports complex niya? Well, if it is proven that, first of all, either kumita siya dyan or it's a complete waste. But it might not be Senator Pacquiao himself. It will be the contractor first. At in order na madawit siya dyan, kailangan meron siyang personal or monetary interest in the project. Sabi ni Soon, nakaka-excite nga po, but with the knowledge that utilization of Smartmatic machines is still on, we're not assured. Attorney Glenn says, kahit ilang million pa ang poll watchers, it still processes the votes. That is correct. That's why, as we keep saying, although merong Smartmatic, we still have to turn out in gloves and vote. Okay? Yun lang po talaga ang only way natin para masalag ang Smartmatic for now. And also, let's start paying very close attention dun sa pinagkaso sa Smartmatic. Kinasuhan nga po sila ng ibang bidder dun sa pag-count ng mga boto dito sa susunod na eleksyon, given the fact na at the last minute, dinisqualify yung kalaban nito. Nagkakaso po yung kalaban and I think it's heading for the ombudsman if it isn't already there. So, hintayin natin. Baka may pagkakataon pa on that one. Pero if you're going to look for a legislative solution or for the president to do something about Smartmatic or even the COMELEC, medyo mahirapan tayo. Matatagalan tayo with that one. Thank you kay Ma'am Marivic de la Cruz on her super sticker. Cheryl Okay says, na-realize na siguro ni Pacquiao na mahirap banggain si Tatay Diggs, lalo na si Tatay, former prosecutor, at nakalkal tuloy for not paying his taxes nga. Well, yeah, but that's a pending case before the Court of Tax Appeals. Doesn't mean that he actually evaded taxes. Well, what it means is that he has a case. And biglang nasilaban natin yung mga constitutional conveners, consultants, makers, founders, and defenders, all of a sudden sa minor media, trad media pala. That's true. Bukas po, meron tayong Sutil Sunday Live with Attorney Ahmed, and let's talk about media as well as yung nakita natin dun sa this week, in addition to all of the politics that was going on, na-invite kami ni Senator Amy dun sa kanilang San Juan house, where we saw the ternos. Ang saya. Actually, just wanted to show you because I'll discuss it more extensively later on. Ganda ng house, actually. Ito, if you're going to look at these, the ternos of Mrs. Marcos were in full display. Apparently, nung bumalik sina Senator Amy dito sa kanilang bahay sa San Juan, it had been looted. It was very, very dirty and they couldn't live in it. So they had to repair it and all that. In the course, dito sa paglilinis nila, nahanap nila yung ibang mga terno na naiwan ni Madam Marcos when they left in 1986. So they have been cleaned and restored and documented. The reason importante po itong mga damit na to, maraming nagsasabi, important naman ang pinagtutuunan mo ng pansin, Attorney Craig. Sabi ko, hindi naman totoo yan because all of these ternos, they represent a part of our history. Diba? kasaysayan natin ito. For example, if you look at these white gowns, ito yung mga ginagamit ni Mrs. Marcos for the state functions. Kaya yan puti kasi magsusuot sila ng sash katulad ng nakikita mo in the painting behind her. So para hindi mag-clash or para makita yung yung mga emblems of power, so to speak. Yeah, she would choose a plain terno. On the right side, you're going to see a terno that's adorned with various flowers. The one in the middle is a terno that's adorned with sampaguita. She really used national symbols pagka dito dun sa local sa local na kanyang mga kasuotan, because that would imply it was a way of promoting our culture as well. Sabi ni Checks and Lines, sana magkaroon ng coffee table book. Well, nasabihan naman po namin si Madam Amy, that was one of the suggestions. Actually, the reason we were there was because to help her come up with what she's going to do with the house and what are we going to do with the ternos and all of that. O, diba? Nasabihan kasi ako, bakit yan ang dinidiscuss mo? Nagkakagulo na, lahat ng vloggers were talking about politics. Pagkatapos, ang ang nangyayari was that, well, ito si Attorney Trixie pinag-uusapan mga terno ni Madam Imelda. So, well, ang sinasabi ko naman dito is that, well, it's very important as well kasi hindi lumingon, di ba, sa nakaraan, among other things na sinabi ni Rizal. Plus, these ternos represent who we are. And if hindi kayo, if you have some time to think about it, these ternos, these are a modification of the native dress already. Modified na yan. Hindi naman ganyan talaga, but she had modified it into a more practical dress. Nilagyan ng zipper yan sa likod, so it's a single dress. Kasi remember, dati yung terno, kaya nga terno, was two pieces, a minimum of two pieces. Siyempre, yung baro, yung saya, for the lower classes, merong tapis, and so on. So maraming mga accoutrements yan. But Mrs. Marcos turned the terno into a formal wear, made it into a single gown, and this was designed by national artists for the lifestyle arts from Valera. Okay. Thank you kay Joycey Plaza for the super sticker. Sabi ni Ma'am Marisa, well, I like attorney discussing our history and TP math. Bongga kayo at keep it up. Oh, ang galing talaga ni TP pagdating sa math. Like, he can blow you out of the water. Is it possible for President Digong to just resign from PDP? And well, yeah, of course, it's always possible. The question is, would it be wise to do that right now? The president doesn't want to just simply pull up stakes from PDP-Laban. That wouldn't be wise kung basta na lang siya aalis sa PDP-Laban. If you're going to do that, you're going to leave an enemy that's possibly strong. And if he's supporting the candidacy of Sara Duterte, he doesn't want to leave a party that will possibly challenge her. So either he stays there and he directs the course of their policy, or directs or determines the direction of the political party, mas nakakatulong pa. We will have a less contentious presidential election, because that would mean most of the major parties will be throwing their weight behind Sara Duterte or Sara BBM, or whatever combination that is. Ito, sabi ni Allen YouTube, shout out, salamat sa support sa tatay namin, and they're watching from Paris, France. Ay, ang social. Okay. Sabi ni John Mark, ikaw lang ang may pinakamagandang magkomentaryo, nakakamiss pag hindi ka parating nagla-live, nakaka-addict kang panoorin. Uy, maraming salamat din naman. Well, tignan nyo, consistent naman tayo sa Sutil Saturday, yung oras lang naman po ang pinagdidiskitahan natin dito. Sabi ni Ian, I also took ternos in Malacanang Palace of the North, and it was an awesome work of art of Pinoy craftsmanship if you look for closer details. Guys, wag niyo na po kayong magreklamo tungkol dun sa chopping sound, kasi gumagawa ng apple pie yung isang anak ko. Ano? Wag kang ganyan. Okay. Which means that there's more apple pies if you guys want to buy. Sabi ni Jimmy Mariano, maraming ranking against PH tulad ng Unsafe Country, Global Watchdog lists na si Duterte among 37 press freedom predators, most Filipino lawyers killed, etc. Black propaganda po kaya ito? Well, ganito yun there's several kinds of lies, damn lies, and statistics. You can make statistics perform in any way that you want. You can use the statistics to show things are bad or show that they are good. Diba? It's really the way you're going to use them that will determine how they're going to behave. Kumbaga, we cannot isolate them. Ngayon, most Filipino lawyers killed. I'm not sure yet. I need to study that. But even if it were so, we have to look into the factors of why they were killed. Were they killed because they were against the president? Were they killed because the crime situation is going up? Who are these lawyers killed? Who did they represent? Did they represent drug lords? Did they represent? Were they members of the OJ prosecution? Prosecutorial's office and so on. So you cannot take all of these murders in lump them all together and make them behave the way you want them to behave, and then say that, oh, tignan mo, it's become a more dangerous country because this X number of lawyers have been killed. We'd have to find out first why they were killed, which is not to say that we're not worried about these statistics. Syempre, ayaw natin may namamatay, lawyer or not. Okay? So what is important is that these crimes have to be solved and more deterrent factors are put in. We shouldn't take all of these even yung people bang wag tayong masyadong defensive about all of these things. We take the information and let's do something about it, diba? What about yung mga unsafe? Well, yun dun sa unsafe, diniscuss na po natin yan sa Karambola. Ang sabi natin is, if you look at the article very carefully, number one, it says, take this with a grain of salt because hindi nga natin alam, hindi lahat ng mga bansa ay nagpadala ng kumpletong impormasyon. So, hindi talaga makikilatis at hindi masasabi na definitive yung listahan na ito or even the ranking is definitive. Second, ang primary focus nila, although there were other factors, war and peace, personal security, and then of course COVID. So doon sa COVID, sinabi nga nila is that the Philippines has a very relatively low death rate. So, hindi naging COVID yung dahilan kung bakit sinasabing dangerous tayo. Merong point pa nga doon na sinabi na grabe kasi yung statistics on the drug war, etc. But those statistics have not yet been, is not vetted information. In other words, hindi siya nanggagaling sa official count ng Pilipinas or dun sa PNP count. So, if they had considered that, then we would call into question whether or not they had accurately pinpointed our place in the list of safe or unsafe countries. Sabi ni Popo Cruz, watching from Camaros, Alberta, Canada, what would happen if BBM and Sara or Go run for the presidency? Will it divide our votes? BBM and Sara or Go run for the president? You mean all three of them run for the presidency? Will it divide our vote? Well, that's really up to us. Ako, kapag pumabot dun sa point na gadon, then I will take the president's recommendation, which might be a boon to BBM or to Bongo. I'm not sure. But for me, iintayin ko po yung yung filing of candidacies kasi ang hirap naman magdududa tayo ngayon pa lang, mag-aaway-away tayo tapos hindi pala tatakbo or iba naman position pa lang yung tatakbo. Max Espanyol says BBM is silent because he's still pursuing his protest in the PET. Wala na po sa PET, nasa Supreme Court na po. So he's silent because he's being strategic. As for the pursuing his protest, we don't know what he's going to do in October kung hindi pa po tapos yung protest niya in the Supreme Court. Okay? No more movie night, sabi ni Ma'am Tina. Good evening. Kasi it's Luminous night. Alam niyo naman, sutil Saturday today, di ba? Question and answer night. Tama ba yung ginawa ni Pacquiao pagtanggal kay Cusi at iba pa without the approval of PRRD? Well, I can't say. Most likely hindi. Kasi it needs the concurrence of the board dun sa pagtatanggal. And if I'm not mistaken, it's actually the board that's supposed to be removing. So, my hypothesis is, and it can be challenged, ang hypothesis ko dyan is mali. Mali in the sense that it doesn't conform with the rules. Although, kaya gumawa sila ng dahilan. Ito yung nakakatawa. Yung first memo na nilabas ni Senator Pacquiao, nakalagay doon, expel mo na yung tatlo and then conduct an investigation. Sabi ko, Senator Manny, teka muna, baliktad po yata yan. Kailangan investigate muna bago expel para may due process, di ba? Hindi yung expulsion, tapos mag-iimbestiga kayo, tama ba yung ginawa natin? And by that time, the damage had been done. Besides, it's not very politic to be fighting like this with members of your own party. Meron din mga following yung mga yan, and you're causing an upheaval within your own party. My worry is that Senator Pacquiao, on the instigation or possibly on the advice of others, ay hindi iniisip yung mga consequences nito. Ang mas nakakabahala is the possibility that Senator Coco Pimentel is the one who's instigating it with Senator Manny, and he's keeping out of sight. Ibig sabihin, inuudyok na si Senator Manny, sino ang natatamaan? Senator Manny, and he's going after the president. So you have two people that Senator Coco might be wanting to destroy, so sila yung pinaglalaban niya, tapos siya tatahi-tahimik dun sa isang tabi. Let's not discount that possibility that Senator Coco is playing the puppet master here, or trying to anyway. Diyos ko, kalabanin mong presidente, sanay na yung taong yan. Sabi ni Emmanuel de Leon, Sarah, tatay, para tunay may malasakit sa inang bayan. Regarding sa World Bank DepEd issue, daming lapses ng DepEd, masakit tanggapin ang katotohanan. Excuse me, nag-apologize po ang World Bank. So I completely and thoroughly unequivocally disagree with you. Nagkamali po ang World Bank niyan. They have apologized twice. Personally, in a letter to Senate Secretary Briones, and publicly, they have removed the offensive statement already from their website. They said temporarily because they're going to put in a new one that probably reflects more data, or going to put in a new one that says that there is no new data. Considering that we have had to change our methods of teaching given na pandemya nga. Diba? Are you expecting exemplary behavior, exemplary teaching methods, exemplary learning from a pandemic situation where most of our teachers have had to learn how to teach online before even starting the school year? They had so very little time to prepare their materials, and a lot of them are still, trying to catch up. Buti sana if many of our teachers get enough sleep. It's not just unfair for you to base your statement na masakit tanggapin ng katotohanan, and therefore automatically sinasabi ninyo tama ang World Bank at ang DepEd ang nagkamali dito. They apologized. They already admitted their mistake. I'm not mad at you. I'm mad at the fact that that you and so many other people are trying to make this about the DepEd. No, it's about the World Bank. Sila yung nagkamali. They maligned us. Technically, if that had happened here and the World Bank had been a local person, then we would be suing them for libel. Kaloka. No, wag niyo awayin si Alvin. I'm just really upset at the fact that people still think that it is the DepEd na nagkamali dito. It is not. It's the World Bank basing it on wrong data. And the data was our diagnostic participation in that. Nag-participate tayo dun sa ranking na yun to find out what our position is so that we can improve it. It's a diagnostic tool. Find out what's wrong, find out how badly we're doing, and then correct that. Yun ang ginamit na basihan ng World Bank to make a statement about the current situation dito sa Pilipinas. It can possibly even be worse, but then you have to take into consideration that we are in a pandemic situation, and our teachers have had to learn at short notice. And even now, it's very, very difficult. Kahit ako, mas gusto ko nga yung face-to-face na instructions. Nevertheless, anong gagawin natin? Pandemya, lakas makahawa. May Delta variant pa tayong posibleng sinasalag pa. Or we have to be working on the possibility that we have to watch out for a Delta variant. So yung mga ganyan statements, it isn't helping. Let's help. Diba? And understand this. Secretary Briones, yung ibang mga tao, they're taking her age against her. That's completely unfair. Look, meron ba kayo narinig kahit isang reklamo sa presidente over the performance of Secretary Briones? This is ridiculous. People are mad at her. So I see so many people trying to troll her online because of what? Age? That's ridiculous. She's been performing well, and the reason she gets so much bad press is because so many people have been removed, and she has very quietly been dealing with corruption in the agency without any fanfare, which is really ridiculous for me. Hindi sinasabi yung mga nagawa na niya. Nobody is extolling any of her virtues because she has no time for that. In the meantime, she keeps working. On the rare occasions that she actually appears before the media, people are determined to misinterpret what she's saying, and that's ridiculous for me. Okay? There are very few people that I trust in Duterte's cabinet, and she's one of them. Lola Art, Sec Mark, Secretary Briones, they're all doing the best that they can. Thank you, KPHEU official. Sheila says, ganyan yung ibang Pinoy. Kanina nakipag-argue ako sa comment section dahil Pilipino siya, pero siya mismo ay nag-agree sa sinabi ng World Bank. At minaliit niya mga estudyante natin, which is hindi ko matanggap. Hindi ko rin kayang tanggapin kasi unang-una, the World Bank is never going to be right in that instance because they are basing it on wrong and outdated data. Diba? There's no way they're going to win that argument. And there's no way you should be siding with them. Sasabihin niyo, talaga namang may problema. Well, gosh, of course may problema. But the reason we took that ranking test in the first place was to be diagnostic. Para alam natin kung anong gagawin natin. Did you expect that within 2 years after taking that diagnostic test, ay naayos na natin ang over 30 years of neglect in our educational institutions? Really? Seriously? Ganun kayo? John Kenneth Balmaceda said, time na siguro ni PRRD lumipat sa HNP, PDP-Laban without PRRD is nothing. Tiyak na magsisilipat yung mga veteran political butterflies sa HNP. Yes, but it's possible that the president is also considering the timing. Kung at the last minute siya mag-pull out, just before the filing of candidacies, yari talaga yung magiging kandidato, di ba? Ng PDP-Laban. Because you're going to pull out the entire machinery at the last minute when he thinks he can count on it to stay. Oh, Ma'am Marie says, is it the peace lily behind this? Yes, ma'am. Galing nyo, ah. Atilano says, Briones is working earnestly kahit matanda na. Respeto naman. Sabi ni Derek, pag yung galitin si Attorney Trixie, straight English tuloy. Hindi ako na-trigger. Well, oo, na-trigger ako. You know why? Because I really like Secretary Briones. When she was new into the position, ang dalas-dalas kong nag-i-interview sa kanya. Hindi pa kasi ako, wala pang Luminous noon eh. So I would talk to her, find out what she was attempting to do and all that. And do you know that she's actually taking care of the textbook situation? She's in addition to which, nadagdagan ng problema because of that pandemic dun sa mga educational materials. And ang nakakainis niyan, pag may isang region na nagkamali, parang lumalabas buong DepEd ang nagkamali. Pinapahiya lahat ng mga teachers ng DepEd kung yung region ang nagkamali. May lapse kunwari, yung director doon sa pagdo-double check or triple check ng mga nung mga modules, pero grabe yung pagdidiskita. They're trying to make it look like the entire DepEd is collapsing as an institution at maling-mali yung ginawa nito. And it's as though lahat ng mga teachers are responsible for that single lapse. Or let's say there's another one in another region and another one in another region. Can you tell me how many teachers there are, how many regions, and how many directors have to be doing all of these things on a regular basis? And so kung nagkamali sila, you can indict the entire system? No. Diba? Sabi ni Mer Roberts, I watched an interview of the blogger with the general who was the major witness to the Limas case. Apparently, he was not treated well by the DOJ office. He immigrated to the US, was recalled again, only to be let down again. Now, because of COVID-19, he can't go back to the US. But paano yan? Baka mawala ng visa yung kaso ni De Lima. Why? Do you think this witness is going to lie on the stand? Because then he would be liable for perjury. Okay? I think this is being overblown. While I understand and I completely commiserate and sympathize with the witness, totoo yan, it's such a hassle. It's always a hassle to be a witness. That's why even the court takes into consideration na kung yung witness mo nanggagaling from so many kilometers away, minsan dapat compensate yung mga yan. But I am not worried that this witness, who is supposed to be an upright person, is going to change his testimony. So bakit kayo nag-aalala tungkol dun sa kaso? Mag-aalala kayo if you think that this witness is going to lie because of the way he had been treated. And in which case, kaninong kasalanan yon? Nobody is going to force that witness to lie. Okay? So it's going to be a problem if he lies. It's going to be a problem if he skews his testimony to favor De Lima. And that comes with totally different penalties. Sabi ni Joy, yes, thank you for that. Secretary Briones was proven right. Albert says, I believe there are corrupt people in DepEd, but definitely not Secretary Briones. She's actually doing a good job. Hento 2 says, yung ABS-CBN nag-iingay kaya siya pinatay daw prangkisa nila, hindi tinanggap mga violations nila. Okay, let's get one thing straight. ABS-CBN was not granted a franchise because Congress no longer trusts it to do the right thing, to do right by the franchise. Hindi sila may kaso kaya tinanggalan ng prangkisa. Kasi di ba sinasabi, nasa na yung mga kaso, bakit walang ganito, walang ganyan. Yun ang kinakapitalize ng ABS-CBN. But the fact is that kahit wala silang kaso, pwedeng bawiin yung prangkisa nila because it is a privilege. Now, what is the danger that ABS-CBN had posited? It wasn't so much their violations. Wait, may violations nga sila. Nag-violate sila ng PD 506A, if I'm not mistaken, but I have to double check the number later on. They violated the rules that prevent this something like a monopoly of thought. What they were doing is that they had so many radio stations. They had actually 2 television stations. They were all over, to the point that ABS-CBN actually dictated things like the taste, which artista looks good, even the or standards of beauty were already being determined by ABS-CBN. Yeah. It wasn't anymore. It was in fact a freedom of speech issue. Okay, let me explain. Yun sa freedom of speech, sinasabi ng mga tao, yung freedom of speech is yung karapatan natin magsalita, but it doesn't stop there. Yung karapatan natin magsalita and to be heard, actually, is tied up with everybody else's right to free speech. Kung ang ABS-CBN is so powerful na yung speech lang nila yung naririnig, we are also deprived of that opportunity to speak because the idea of free speech is so that there is a free exchange of ideas. If only one television station or one radio station or one broadcast entity virtually dictates everything that goes on in the entertainment industry, in news and all of that, then as a matter of fact, freedom of speech is endangered in this country. So the taking away of the franchise, the lack of a franchise of ABS-CBN was to allow the freedom of speech to flourish in this country. So all Congress had to do, they don't even need a case. You don't even need to, all of these tax evasion things and all that, because all we needed is for Congress to doubt if ABS-CBN is going to comply with its duty. Diba? And they didn't. Since Congress couldn't trust it anymore, they couldn't give it a franchise. It wasn't about killing their franchise. They had no right to that. They have no right to it, even to this day. But their behavior, the semi-legal, the all of this the tax avoidance, all of these things that are flirting at the edges of the law, or even outrightly possibly violating the law. We're not sure because their cases have not been filed. All of these, you don't even need to prove that they actually violated the law. All we need to do is for Congress to doubt them, to doubt that they're going to do well by this franchise. So, di tinatanggap ang mga violations nila. They don't even need violations para hindi sila bigyan ng prangkisa. Sabi ni Ma'am Rosemary Tugonon, please don't count on the age of Secretary Briones. She's doing her best to do her job. Instead, let's uplift her doings. Bawal po judgmental. Actually, bawal ang ageist comments, di ba? Sabi ni Carlos, masayang election kasi walang ABS-CBN na mabrainwash sa mga voters. Yes, and that is why you have to look very closely. Ang tinitira nila are the bloggers. But it isn't just the bloggers, ha? Tinitira nila yung mga bloggers, but they're allowing the PR firms to control social media. That's something to watch out for. Pay very, very close attention to the statistics, to the surveys that are going to come out very soon about the candidates. Brian Espino says, behind all this, alam na kung sino sila, how much pa bayad nila dyan. And alam naman natin na ang Western at American are racist, di ba? All this time gusto nilang babalik yung mga kampi nila's position, di ba? The dissents. People will never come again kasi ngayon ang mga bastos hindi papayag. Tayo pa yon. Kala siguro nila powerful na sila. Akala nakahanap sila ng katapat nila. Feeling kasi nila sila ang Diyos. Nagsilabasan ng baho ng ABS-CBN. Yan. Antonio Sora says, hanggang ngayon naman, ABS-CBN still biased. Kaya paano sila ibabalik? Parehas lang sila ng Rappler. Sir Bobby Fajardo says, I wonder what happened to the community panties. Are they still existing or is it still just a media promo. Well, it's possible na media creation din naman kasi yan eh. Pero panay ang tanggap ng mga awards nung supposed founder nun. Sabi ni Ma'am Marie Gardose, on point of order this morning, it was discussed that the appropriate government agencies like the NTC and HLURB for land titles are IA better. What do you mean IA better? Doing better? I disagree with the NTC. Friday says, sabi ni Sir Jason sa statecraft ni Sas kanina, kahit sa umpisa walang franchise talaga ang ABS-CBN dahil gusto nila ng mega franchise na hindi maaproba. Alan Aniceto says, agree po ba kayo kay Kong Marcoleta na instead of modules na mas magastos daw, bakit hindi nilang gawing books dahil trabaho po ang teachers magturo at hindi taga-Xerox? We do have books. It doesn't mean that because they're modules that we're not using any books. The books are for reading and not for the activities. Ganito po kasi yun. Most of the books in the DepEd are activity books, meaning you fill them up. Diba? Meron pa rin tayong ginagamit na books, and these are either the reference books, the books that are for reading, pero hindi siya activity books. So, what we did away are with some of the activity books para nako-correct siya. So, just yung mga Xerox na mga modules po na yan are usually for the non-online work because yung iba sa online work, you submit also online kung kaya. Uy, bakit nawala yung isa kong studio? Alright. Next. Sabi ni Sun, including the type of humor dinidictate nila at the expense of hurting, humiliating, and impressing a person, no one has the right to hurt you. Yes. Pero if you notice na ang pagdating sa bastusan, sa social media, nag-iba yung mga standards na rin natin, di ba? Sa mga dilawan na yung Twitter at FB, pero sa YT, daming DDS warriors, vloggers, YouTubers na hindi ng fake news. Ano po ang proseso requirements COMELEC to change HNP into a national party? Well, yung number one is the capacity because it's created as a regional party. Its candidates are all regionally based. So everything that they submitted was only for the purpose of that region. They just have to expand. Same requirements, if I'm not mistaken, with a national scope. Kaya na nila yon. I'm sure alam na alam nila yan. Magandang gabi, sabi ni Pablo Martinez. Sana po maging matalino ng mga bobo to sa darating na eleksyon. Dahil pag umiral ang boto ng mga bobo, malamang na magkaroon na naman ng pangilang ABS-CBN. Let's see. Pili po ako, campaign ng PNP at military tuloy, community service at panties, go PNP and military, grabe as in akyat bundok to deliver goods, harvest, tanim, linis, teaching, and community panties. Ang galing. Actually, feeding programs na rin sila. Diba? Don't forget the mobile kitchen ng ating AFP. Mabuhay AFP and PNP, hindi kayo nawawala. Prodigal Son says, nakasalang ng apple pie, wala nang tunog. Okay. Mapanuring mata says, sana yung frequency ng ABS ay maging sa gobyerno na lang at magamit for teaching. Unlike CP and internet, ang TV ay halos lahat ng bahay meron. So, Amian Grande says, hello, I'm also a public school teacher. Yes, we also print, though the school provides us the materials in printing. I have my own printer at home. Very time-consuming printing pa lang po. Yes, I agree with that. But that was supposed to be a stopgap measure, diba? So let's see. We didn't intend for COVID to last for so long. And as a matter of fact, ilang beses na natin binabroach yung possibility of a face-to-face teaching para hindi na po tayo nagmo-modules na ganyan. Mapanuring mata sa sana yung frequency, ay nabasa na pala natin yan. Rain Suizo says, yes, totoo po yung mga legwork ng ABS-CBN and getting vloggers being clamped and they are paying people to harass them. Wow. Nakachamba rin sa live, sabi ni Joy Zamora. Hello, sabi ni Pearl Abad de la Cruz. Ito, namamana po ba ang partido? Sabi ni Biro. Ano po kaya kung matanggal si Ko? Ikaw ko pala yung inaano mo. Okay. Okay, Coco pala. Ano po kaya kung matanggal si Coco? Well, may point ka, pero I don't know what he has done to merit being removed, di ba? Soon says, kaya ang value formation ng GMRC hindi nila napopromote mind conditioning sa youth na good ang pambastos at panlalait sa tao para magpatawa ng madlang people. Oo, pero pag ang karambola ang natawa, di ba? Gustong tanggalan ng gustong kasuhan sa KBB. Bakit laging panangga ng ABS-CBN ay press freedom? Inabuso nga nila yon eh. And as a matter of fact, the very existence of ABS-CBN was a threat to press freedom all over the place. Diba? You can't have a monopoly. Alpac says, sana magkaroon ng gaya ng sa private schools na gamit Chromebooks para di magastos sa papel. Ideal, yes. Di pa po ba convicted si Trillanes? If so, bakit nakalaya siya? Unang-una, kasi na-convict siya for libel, wala pong kulong yon, bayad fine yon. So, grabe kayo ka talaga kay Trillanes. Sunod-sunod parate. Yung mga tanong sa akin, hindi nauubos. Bakit hindi pa daw nakakulong si Trillanes? So let's go through those 3 cases, 4, that we know of na mga kaso niya. Rebellion at saka coup d'etat, dinismiss dun sa Court of Appeals. 'Di ba? Ang sabi, tama yung amnesty, is entitled to amnesty. So hindi natin sure kung na-appeal yan ng DOJ to the Supreme Court. Next, inciting to sedition sa Bicoy, ongoing po yung trial. Naka-bail naman po siya, so that's why nasa labas siya. Convicted siya for libel. Pero dun sa decision ng hukuman, wala pong kulong, bayad lang ng fine. Inapila po niya yan para makatakbo siya. Diba? Shout out naman sa Newark. Sabi ni Kara ang list po. Okay. Shout! Okay. Hi po dyan sa mga taga Newark. So, sabi ni Fernando Cabrera, si Monso Duliani na, natatakot na sila na walang mananalong oposisyon. Shout out from Sharjah, UAE. Magandang gabi po sa inyo lahat dyan. Paki-explain po yung legality. President Duterte runs for VP next year kasi nalilito po ako. Sinasabi kasi ni Nadrila na 20 Veras. Ngayon lang po kayo nanood uli, ano? Ilang beses na po namin ina-explain yan. You can read the explanation in Luminous. Ganun pa man, ito yung short version. Nasabi sa ating saligang batas, ang pinagbabawal sa pagtakbo ng presidente ay re-election. Wala pong nakalagay na hindi siya maaaring tumakbo bilang vice-presidente. Ang sinasabi ni Senator Drilon at saka ni Senator Hontiveros ay it goes against the spirit of the Constitution kasi ang Constitution, ang pinagbabawal ay yung makapag dalawang terms na magkasunod ang presidente. So, kung tumakbo siya ng vice president, pwede daw na yung loophole na yung ma-elect na president ay mag-resign at yung vice president aangat dun sa posisyon ng presidente. Unang-una, really, may gagawa ng ganon? Presidente ka na, magre-resign ka pa para makaangat yung vice president mo. Kung ako yun, magdadamot ako the last minute. Or at least that's human nature, number 1. Number 2, walang ganon sa ligang batas. In fact, hindi nakalagay doon na we're preventing a succession. Wala rin ganon. So, ang ginagawa ni Senator Antiveros at saka ni Senator Dillon ay nag-i-interpret sila. Dahil pinagbabawal yung dalawang magkasunod na terms ng presidente at nililimit ito to 1 term, gusto nila isara pati yung loophole na yan. But the fact is, the Supreme Court has not ruled on it. There is no rule on it. There's no interpretation of the constitutional provision. All it says is the president cannot run for re-election. So, ang batas, according to dun sa statutory construction natin or the way that you're going to read a law, it says that if there is the plain reading of the law na maliwanag kung ano yung plain reading ng law, yun po yung magiging rule. Kung merong konting problema, saka ka lang magi-interpret. Kung merong konting confusion or there is some confusing provision in the law, then that's the only time you're going to interpret. Nag-i-interpret sila ay maliwanag naman yung batas, which means they're worried. Okay? Maraming salamat kay Rain Suiso sa kanyang super sticker. GD says, napaisip lang, kung hindi nagtatatahol si Pacquiao, bakit naungkat ang tax evasion topic at hindi noon pa? Pinaglalaroan lang ata tayo nito. Well, yung kanyang tax evasion case, nag-start yan panahon pa ni Noynoy, di ba? And si Kim Henares yung nangongolekta sa kanya. It began because the US was saying hindi siya nagbayad ng taxes doon. Ang defense niya doon sa US is nagbayad siya ng taxes dito sa Pilipinas. So sabi ni Kim Henares, wala akong nakikitang record na nagbayad ka ng taxes doon sa earnings mo in the US. Therefore, kokolektahan kita ngayon. So, umakyat ito sa Court of Tax Appeals and inuphold ng CTA yung pagkokolekta ng BIR dun kay Senator Pacquiao. Umakyat si Senator Pacquiao sa Supreme Court. Sabi ng Supreme Court, sige, CTA, wag muna kayong mangolekta. And so that's what's happening. Nililitis pa po sa CTA. Ito, sabi ni Ken Louie, if you guys want a sooner face-to-face classes, pa-vaccinate na kayo, herd immunity is a must. Yeah, kung kaya, pa-vaccinate na ang lahat. Paano ba naging parte ng PDP-Laban yan si Coco? Well, he ran under that party at ang father niya yung founder ng party na yan. Lawyer din si PRRD, alam niya yung constitution, ay naku dilawan, kabahan na kayo to the max. Sabi ni Nari Lacson, inalis si Kusi, hindi po siya inalis. Nagbigay lang ng memo, but Secretary Kusi is still very much a part of PDP-Laban. Kasi iniindoso si Sara Di Kapatido, dapat tanggalin din si Pacquiao, naanok na si Ping Lacson, maging vice yung lang nga, ayaw ni Ping at i-consider daw si Soto. Sana po nasa batas din natin, sabi ni Jeff, kapag nagkaroon ng ongoing case or pending case from any court, hindi pwedeng tumakbo for any position sa government at hindi pwedeng i-appoint sa government position. Lawyer din si PRRD, oops, nabasa ko na yan. Yung political science ni Pacquiao ang nag-end ng political career. Weng ya, Amancio says, o nga naman. Sabi ni Lila, grabe yung utak mo, ang bilis mo mag-isip, and it shows when you talk so fast and very spontaneously. Am I talking too fast? Okay, sabihan niyo ako if I'm talking too fast. Thank you for being there. Alam niyo sa court, nagre-reklamo yung mga court stenographers sa akin. Pag na-excite daw ako, masyadong mabilis ako magsalita. Hindi sila makahabol. Sabi ni Rob, marami kaming natututunan, nauunawaan, kaya di din kami empty-handed when we encounter dilawan. Ikaw nga, binigyan nyo kami ng barel at bala. Ay, maraming salamat. Ito, thank you kay Ed Santos. Sabi ni Ed, sino yung mga noy-noy at owner ng ABS-CBN, parehong vengatibo, kaya hindi na rin yung prangkisa. Sigurado panalo si Mayor Sara, mag-iintay na sa 6 na taon. I have a question regarding ABS-CBN. Sabi ni GM Apollo, laging nagpapalabas ng fake news at pilit pinagpalamon sa viewers yung mga hindi totoo. Wala ba silang liabilities pag ganyan? Pwede silang kasuhan under Article 154 for publication of false news. Pero kailangan ng ebidensya and all that. Yeah, pwede. All I can say is thank you for your continued presence in social media, sabi ni CF. Uy, maraming salamat. Kahit inaapi na kami ng Facebook. Medardo, sabi ni Father Aquino, na set up ang paghabol ni Sara. Pag nanalo siya at si PRRD, magre-resign siya at si PRRD uli ang presidente. Ang sagot ko dyan, so what? The reason they're so worried is because they know that it's a completely legal move. O, bakit hindi sinasara yung loophole na yan? Tagal-tagal nang meron tayong kongreso, hindi naman pinagkakatuunan ng pansin ng mga kongresista natin. So, ano yan, legislation fail. Tapos, somehow, galit sila dun sa mga tao na makikinabang dun sa provision na yon. Sana po mag-run kayo for Senate. Sabi ni Ma'am Joy, you're a big help at malamang marami ka pong maipapasang batas. Hoping lang po. Mahal kaya, di ba? John Kenneth Balmaceda says, feeling ko palabas lang ng PRRD, natatakbo siyang VP para walang lumaban at ibibigay ni PRRD yung VP candidacy kay Romualdez o kay BBM. Good point. Posible. Although I'm not sure about giving it to Martin Romualdez. Especially if BBM is in the running. Hindi niya tatapatan yung pinsan niya. Binibining Lola says, salamat po na marami sa pagbasa ng aming mga message. Sayang di kami makatikim ng apple pie. Nabibili po yun. GM Apollo says, ba't di kami makapag-send ng stars dito sa FB? At least man lang makapag-support kami sa inyo. Alam niyo naman, di ba, sinathrottle kami, tapos ilang beses kaming tinawag na fake news ng Verifile. So, requirement yun para makapag-upgrade to that. At tignan natin, pagka medyo lumuwag-luwag na uli. Tim Makalintal says, great irony would be si Pacquiao ang ma-expel for sowing discord, spreading malice and pang-aaway kay PRRD. He's supposed to be supporting the president and the party's mission. Is that possible? Yes, it's possible. Ba't ganun biglang na-unfollow? Suki ako bawat live at active sa mga comment. Bigla na lang ako na-unfollow, kaya pala walang notification, sabi ni Lorraine. Ay, nako, wow. Para dun sa mga nanonood at nakikinig sa atin through Facebook, huwag niyong kakalimutan, parating niyong i-check. Kung kayo ay naka-follow pa, araw-arawin niyo po. Ilagay niyo po sa favorites para madali hanapin at malalaman niyo kaagad kung kayo ay na-unfollow. Don't forget po alam niyo naman, maraming hiwaga. Mag-e-election po kasi. So, meron mong gustong mag-control ng kung sino yung mga naririnig ninyo. Para rin sigurado, don't forget mag-subscribe doon sa ating YouTube. Remy Box says, mas may tiwala pa ako sa mga truth seeker na vlogger kaysa sa mainstream media. Salamat po at nandyan kayo. Palagi to enlighten us. God bless. Ahmed Sheikh says, kailan ba talaga mag-migrate mga dilawan? Sabi nila kapag nanalo si Tatay D, ngayon pinaka-unsafe ang Pilipinas sa buong mundo. Nandito pa rin sila. Thank you. Very informative lahat ng dinidiscuss. Bingo. Big help para sa tulad kong OFW. Onito says they're so worried because there is no more space for them to manipulate things, just like what Robredo is doing for the past 5 years. Di na sila makapagsabi. Di sila makapagsabing Aus Duterte. Oo, kasi inciting to sedition yan eh. Sabi ni Josa, di na daw niya nakikita ang karambola dito sa FB. Doon po kayo sa Luminous manood. Thank you for a very comprehensive and informative social media. Uy, nauubusan na kayo ng mga tanong. Ito, sabi ni Medardo, I agree na sana makahabol kayo sa Senado. Maraming mababakante from the Dilawan. Oo, pero masaya dito sa online eh. What I always say when people say na sana tumakbo kayo for the Senate, parati kong sinasabi, hindi kasi ang inaasam natin, sainthood, hindi senator. Maximo Espanyol says, what is your opinion? Sec Belial's statement removing the board and bar exams. My opinion doesn't count. The opinion of the Chief Justice is what counts. At sumagot na po si Chief Justice na you cannot do away with the bar exams. Hindi po pwede. Kailangan i-guarantee nila yung minimum requirements or minimum na kaalaman ng mga ating abogado para bago sila mag-umpisa ng practice. As for removing the boards, problema na nga yung CPD, pati board, yung board pa yung tatanggalin. Okay na ako dun sa board, ang tanggalin na lang yung CPD law. Kung VP tatakbo si Romualdez, hindi tatakbo ng VP si BBM, hindi naman sila katulad ng mga Aquino na magpipinsan naglalaban sa pagka-presidente katulad ni Noynoy at Gibo. Clarita Reyes says, done on my second Pfizer here in Montreal. Pwede na kami mag-vacation dun sa Pinas. Yay! Sana naman marami nang nakauwi. At saka ako, fingers crossed, mas gusto ko maraming makabukas na for tourism, lalo na yun dun sa mga fully vaccinated, di ba? Ito, sabi ni Jeremy Marquis, we prefer you not to run for government post. We'd rather have you doing this vlog for quick and handy information. Well, if you want me to continue vlogging, like and share, tsaka like and subscribe, and get more people to like and subscribe, di ba? Ganun lang naman yan eh. I can't let people down, especially if a lot of people are expecting. Maraming salamat kay Ma'am Gretchen. Sabi niya, paano po pala yung promotion ni Pacquiao sa AFP na in-award ni Pinoy? Sabi, if degree holder ka at graduate ng basic or advanced ROTC lang pwede ma-promote sa ganung rank. 2011, pre-promote siya, sabi dun sa post ni Attorney Nick, at 2017 siya nag-graduate. Totoo yan, but actually, ang ginawa ni, ang sabi ni then AFP spokesman Harold Cabunok, ang kinonsider nila is, charan, yung kanyang honorary degree. At sinabi ni Professor Clarita Carlos, honorary nga yan, ibig sabihin, hindi mo pinaghirapan, wala kang na-attain na knowledge yan, honorary lang. Tapos yan ang kinonsider ninyo. Sabi naman ng AFP, kasi ang dami ng karangalan na binigay ni Sir Manny dito sa atin, kaya kawawa naman siya kung sarhento lang yung ranko niya. Para sa akin, you bent your own rules sa AFP, may problema talaga kayo. Can anyone file a case against Manny Pacquiao on questionable project that he did in Sarangani and the location is not very strategic? The wisdom of the project might be difficult to question. What you can question is whether or not nag-comply siya dun sa procurement rules and whether or not yun nga, nasayang lang ang government funding dito. So if you have evidence, well, yes, of course. But what you can do also is file a complaint for investigation with the Office of the Ombudsman. And in that case, anybody can actually file that. Dami na rin na vaccine sa amin sa Pampanga. Thank you po. Yay! Princess Solana, salamat sa suporta mo kay Tatay Digong. Nakakatuwa ka po mag-explain at marami kami natututunan. Kaya nakaabang talaga ako sa tuwing magla-live ka. Ingat po, God bless. Okay, ito yung rule ha. Saturday, magla-live tayo no matter what time. Ay, kita mo, humabol pa tayo, 11 o'clock na tayo nag-start. Mamaya, Sunday, normally, hindi ako napapagod ako by Sunday at hindi ako nakakapag-live. Pero within the week, magla-live tayo because yung mga, yung 10-cent tour, tawag ni Aimee dun sa, sa bahay nila sa San Juan, pag-usapan natin yung heritage natin. Lang ako, I really got ticked off when somebody said na, bakit yan ang dinidiscuss mo lahat nga ng ibang mga vloggers, puro politiko na yung dinidiscuss tapos ikaw yung mga terno dinidiscuss. Tapos may isa pang nagalit sa akin. Ang sabi, ano ba yan? Ang sabi is, bakit daw bumabalimbing ako dun sa mga Marcoses samantalang maliwanag daw na parang inaalaw ko daw yung run Sarah run dun sa Luminous. Tapos ano pa ba yung sinabi? At ina-attack ko daw si Martin Romualdez. A, okay, si Senator Amy nag-imbita sa akin. B, uh, we didn't attack Congressman Martin Romualdez. It was the president who talked to him. Ni-report lang po namin yon. Kasi the president discouraged him from trying to conduct a coup d'etat against Lord Alan Velasco dahil sinasabi ni Presidente Duterte ayaw na niyang magulo ang Kongreso until the end of his term. So, C, ano, just because I am pro BBM or pro Aimee or pro Marcoses and pro I cannot also be pro Sara. Right now, nobody has filed their certificates of candidacy yet. And so, yung hino-hope ko na BBM, Sara, BBM ay may pag-asa. Diba? And even if it was true that I attacked, which I never did, Congressman Martin Romualdez, that doesn't mean that I'm not going to support a BBM presidency or vice presidency. But I prefer to make my choice kapag may candidacy na file. Si PD Law from Trillanes, pahamak daw talaga. Sabi ni TC, sana maunahan niyo sa sainthood niyo. Uy, nagbibiro lang ako sa sainthood. Siguro todo galit ng mga dilaw nun kasi tagal na nilang pinupush mag-instant ko yun. Ay nako, what happened to my cap? Ayun. Yun, sabi ni Melodia, political sayang ang naabot ni Bakay. Oy, good one. Ito. Thank you kay Arthur Luis Estrada. Sabi niya, kahit po ba supporters badge sa Facebook, bawal ka? Opo, hindi pa ako pwede. Kasi nga, tatlong fact check ako eh. So, ina-appeal namin yung, i-appeal namin yung fact checking namin. JG sabi siya, sana po maibalik ang pagpapalago ng ating kultura noong nasimulan ni Madam Imelda at nawala na sa mga walang pagmamahal sa kulturang Pilipino. Sana mapag-usapan uli sa karambola yung mga irregularities sa Meralco na dapat na taong bayan ang may-ari ng Meralco. So, ito, sabi ni Maribon, thank you very much. Sana maimbestigahan si Manny dun sa sinayang niyang sports complex sa Sarangani. Alam niyo, sa dami ninyong nagtanong tungkol dyan, aaralin ko tuloy yan, but I need some time to do that. Sabi ni Mark Vincent, anong update sa PhilHealth? Wala pong update sa PhilHealth. Chelly Castro says, ayaw nila yung tao pero reasonable pa din sila when it comes to issues concerning these persons. Ito, sabi ni Legendary, yung national ID na po ba ang gagamitin sa election day? Hindi na po gagamitin yung voters ID. Wala po kasing announcement ang COMELEC eh. Pero dapat, kung meron ng national ID, ang koti pa lang na meron eh. Good evening sa lahat. Sabi ni Ma'am Emma, tinatanong ni Lorenzo Rojas, can he file a case against Senator Pacquiao on his false accusations? False accusations. Sinong inakusahan niya? Kung meron, yung na-accuse, yun yung magfa-file ng kaso. What do you think of Isko for president? Sabi ni Eduardo. I'm not sure yet. Sa totoo lang, I like Isko, but I'm not sure for president yet. Maiiwan ng Manila eh. And some people think that he's actually doing a good job in Manila, so bakit siya aalis doon? There's time enough because he's very young, and that's what he has going for him, di ba? He can wait another 6 years and then run for president. That's just me. But of course, we'll have to see if he actually files a certificate of candidacy for president. Right now, I think that I like him in Manila, but let's see kung sino yung kalaban niya. Kung hindi tumakbo si Sara, hindi tumakbo si BBM and all that, we might have to reassess. Diba? Like I said, mahirap talaga magsabi na I like this or that person for president except for Sara and BBM until we see the filing of the certificates of candidacy. Sabi ni Scorpius, huwag masyadong feeling entitled sa kung ano man gusto nilang pag-usapan sa kanyang vlog. Alam niyo ng pro-culture ang madam, pwede namang may araw na ibalato sa usapang kultura. Salamat! Isko, kulang pa PR niya. Sabi ni Francis Ong, grabe yung sarcasm mo. Sabi ni Medardo, hahabol si Isko sa national kasi to give way for his vice mayor. Siguro. Live ng Luminous pag weekend, parang recap ng karambola at tambayan. Sabi ni Carlos. Ito sabi ni Ahmed, ako I don't like Yorme, he's bumbling in Manila now. Hindi ako yan. Si Ahmed yan malamang. Okay. Vicente Fernandez says PRRD is not really a PDP-Laban member. It was just a way to legally push his candidacy so Pusi PRRD and their followers can transfer back to Hugpong and coalesce with KBL. Good one. Good one. I like that. Derek Abiel says, kailan po bubuksan ng Bataan Nuclear Power Plant? Probably never. There is no Bataan Nuclear Power Plant, sir. There is a shell of the Bataan Nuclear Power Plant. Wala na yan, kinanibalize na po yan. Even if we could revive that, we're going to have to get new stuff. New reactor, new everything. All we have is the land right now and possibly some of the transmitter lines. But other than that, it's a shell. I'd like people to stop thinking that there is actually a Bataan Nuclear Power Plant. Wala na po. Matagal nang cannibalized. Sinabi ni Senator Amy yan nung interview natin siya, di ba? Lorena Carlos says, mas marami pang nagawa si Etienne sa kay Isko. Oops! Okay. Well, I will trust the opinion of the Manileños. Kasi sila yung nakatira doon. Siyempre, sila yung uunahin kung bibigyan ng credence sa sinasabi, di ba? Particularly, pag sila yung nag-assess ng success or lack thereof ng kanilang mga local officials. Terno is part of our golden age of history, sabi ni Rain Suizo, so we could support this kind of act and our generations should know it and yung mga pawokes. Well, yeah, golden age. Huh. Well, yeah. But we also, I also have to point out that the Terno was a period in history. Yung Terno, the Mon Valera Terno was, of course, Mrs. Marcos' signature dress and signature attire. And it helped define the aesthetics of an entire generation, di ba? So, mahalaga siya. Ping Manalang says, nakikinig habang gumagawa dito sa garden sa England. Okay. Lorenzo is asking, can he file a case against Senator Manny on his accusation 3 times corruption sa Duterte administration? If it affects the national security, the affecting ating trade, diplomacy, the affecting national interest, which I don't see. It's not libel kasi wala naman siyang nilibel na tao unless he mentions na it was because of PRRD. So, no, I don't think a case is going to fly. You can file a case, but whether or not you're going to win that is a different matter. Ping says, Manalang, not Lacson, nakikinig habang ito pala yung sa garden. Okay. Lila po says, the death of Pinoy, parang bad media hype lang. It has only been a few weeks since his death and it seems nobody's talking about it na, pati yung heroism daw niya kuno. Pakulo lang talaga ng yellow media, the news of his death died a natural death. Nice. Tinsikans TV says, Duterte started in his own city. Sana ganoon din ang record na magiging presidente. Tama na sa popular lang. Well, hindi naman nag-mayor si Senator Marcos, but he did very well as a senator. James says, eligible pa din po ba si Tonyo sa 2022 kahit convicted na siya sa libel, meaning criminal na siya? If he doesn't appeal it, if it becomes final and executory, it's may moral turpitude yan, so he will be disqualified. But right now, hindi pa final. So, kasi nag-appeal siya. Sabi ni Nemesis, yung akusasyon ni Pacquiao maaaring may effect sa economy, tumaas bigla ang exchange rate. You have to determine that was the cause, di ba? Aguason says, may hope pa po ba mawala ang CPD law? Pasakit lang po sa mga profesional habang lumalaki ang kita ng mga nagpapaseminar. Nako, wala na nga akong mabigay sa pamilya ko. Hindi siya natanggal this last Congress, but ilabi natin next Congress. Baka hindi kasi umabot this time eh. 9936 EBL says, totally agree about the DepEd head. Paz says, first time ko po napanood ng live nyo. Team replay po kasi ako parati sa work, watching from Dubai. Nakapag-subscribe na po ba kayo sa YouTube? Okay, don't forget to subscribe ha. Okay, last 2-3 questions para para hindi ako masyadong mapagod at bukas makapag-live pa tayo. Ray Makuha says, just to make it clear, totoo po ba na di pwedeng tumakbo si VP, si PRRD? Pwede po siyang tumakbo, just to make it clear. Shirley says, sure po ba kayo na shell na lang natira sa BNPP kasi bubulaanan po ng ng Romualdez din. Hindi daw alam ni Amy yung mga nasa labas lang daw po ang ninakaw. Yes, but it's really old. Guys, huwag natin pilitin. I don't mind nuclear energy, but let's not rely on old and outdated equipment. Nuclear yan eh. Di ba? Ako, I don't mind having a Bataan nuclear power plant, but I'm not going to want any old equipment being brought to life there. Ito, sabi ni Candida, it's my very first time na watch kayo live. Ilang taon nyo na akong tagadinig dito sa programa mula noong 2016, gaya ng Karabwal at Tambayan at yung live ninyo ni Atty. Paglinawan. 2016, ano bang nila-live ko? Wala pa akong live noong 2016, parang gabalag na ako nun. Ronald Morata says, why do these incompetent people want to be in power? We don't need them in our country. Every country deserves real public servants. As always, remember to not vote useless individuals in any position. Parang may pinatamaan kayo. Ay, Maminday. Sabi ni Paulo Victoria, hindi nasagot ang tanong ko. Ayan, sana kung ni-repost mo na lang yung tanong mo, nasagot pa kita. Ito yung nakikita ko eh. Hey, live fully tomorrow. Shera Briton says, good night. Pumipikit na mata niya. Okay, wrap up na tayo. Diyos ko, kung makatulog ako ng maaga, then magla-live tayo bukas because we really have to talk about the Ternos. Anthony Coloma says, pwede bang i-record ang mga crimes committed para hindi na mahirap sa pagkuha ng NBI police clearance? Puro mistaken identities naman ang ending doon. I-record. Hindi. It's a matter of sharing the information kasi yung information na nasa court, kino-computerize pa po yata. Dapat computerized po kasi lahat yun. Kahit ako nahihirapan din ako yung mga ganyang NBI clearance for the clients and all of that. So, yes, I agree. Pagka na-computerize na po lahat, pagka complete na po yung computerization, then magiging mas madali. Actually, I disagree with having any NBI clearances at all. Bakit may ganyan pa? Sabi ni James Bong, may docu na yan sa BNPP, wala nang laman, kinakoy na. Good night, sabi ni Ma'am Shera. Ay, shalom, sabi ni, di ko mabasa po. And good night, paimbestiga na rin ni Pacquiao ang BIR. Sabi ni Coins and Stamps to watch. Shout out sa Santa Cruz, Laguna, to our beloved Mayor, Egay San Luis, sabi ni Amian Grande. Oy, tito ko yan. Sige, paki-shout out. So, shout out dyan sa sa Santa Cruz, Laguna, kay Tito Egay. Hi. Di ba ang anak niyan konsehal? Hi, and to his beloved wife, kay Tita Doris. Tita Doris is a cousin of my mother. So, first cousin by the way, magkapatid yung fathers nila. Okay, sige, bukas ulit tayo. Hopefully, di ako mapagod. Magandang gabi sa inyong lahat. Maraming salamat sa lahat ng pagpadala sa super chat at saka sa super stickers. For those who are watching on the replay, hi. Don't forget to subscribe. Ulitin ko pa para dun sa mga nanonood natin sa Facebook. Please check kung naka-follow pa po kayo. And always put it on favorites para hindi po kayo biglang na-unfollow. Mache-check ninyo araw-araw. At the same time, don't forget to share itong live na ito. And don't forget to subscribe dun sa ating YouTube channel. Kahit hindi kayo masyado nanonood sa YouTube, subscribe na rin po kayo. It's going to be our fallback in case anything happens to us on Facebook. Good night, everybody. We'll see you hopefully tomorrow because I really want to talk about the San Juan house. We'll see you then. Thank you very much, everybody.